Welcome to video 4. Ice axes. So, we're now moving into the world of sexy ice axes. The bit we've all been waiting for, am I right? So, let us consider a wee bit about the different kinds of ice axes you can get your hands on, quite literally. This is my personal axe of choice. I was going to say weapon, and I realised I would sound like a bit of a knob. Don't be that guy. Or girl, don't be that guy. Sexist. It's ingrained in all of our noggins. This is my axe of choice. Why, I hear you ask? Because it was on a mad good deal in Taizo, so I spent £90, got myself this Edelrid Rage ice axe. You will note the fairly aggressive curve, the downturned aggressive angle on the pick, the offset moulded handle. Theoretically, if I were a far better climber than I'm ever likely to be, this axe could take you from grade 1 all the way up to grade 11 and even 12. Greg Boswell did put up a grade 12, look it up, it's quite insane. So theoretically, an axe like this, that you can find on sale for around £100 or buy second hand for 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds, can take you all the way to do the hardest climbs in the world, all over the world, not just Scotland.
However,
you probably don't need an axe as aggressive as this if you're going to be climbing at grade 1, 2, 3, maybe dabble with the odd 4, and maybe eventually flirt with the idea of a cheeky grade 5. So, if you want to do it cheaply, get yourself online, get onto Gumtree, eBay, Outdoor Gear Exchange on Facebook, look up some second-hand ice axes. These are pretty old. I think the guess they're between 15 to 20 years old. They are Simond Piranhas, the old model of the Piranhas. In their day, these would have been a fairly technical axe. They've got a decent pick, T-rated, bit of a curve on the handle for holding on to. So, you can get yourself on eBay, Gumtree, pick up a second-hand pair of axes. I got these for £5. £5. That's £2.50 an axe. You pay more than that for a mediocre cup of coffee in Starbucks. Tax dodging bastards. You probably won't find a deal as good as £5, but you can pick up second-hand axes that'll see you all the way up grade 1, 2, 3, 4, even the odd 5. I feel like grade 5 is probably where you'd start to notice the deficiencies in axes like this. They're a bit on the heavy side. The handle isn't great if you're really hanging off it, what have you. Most of us are going to struggle to really break into the grade 5s anytime soon, so they'll last you for years. You can pick them up pretty cheap. They don't have to cost a fortune. If you do have the money and you want to just bosh out and break out the credit card,
feel free.
however, it doesn't have to be that expensive. You can do it cheaply by just shopping around second hand. There's loads going second hand on any given day on eBay or Gumtree. Just shop around. What kind of axe should you be looking for, I hear you ask? Roughly speaking, there are 3 types of axes. You get the straight axes, straight handles, usually a wee bit longer because they're very often used as walking aids when you're traversing ridges, going up grade 1 terrain, steep slopes, traversing across steep slopes, and glacier travel. Obviously there's none of that in Scotland. So you have it as a bit of a walking aid, helps you keep your balance. Great for plunging into snow. Also being straight handled, best of all for ice axe arrest if you take a slip and you need to stop yourself sliding off down the slope. There you go. That's roughly speaking the first type of axe you can get is a straight handled walking aid. It's not really a climbing axe. However, back in the olden days when they were all climbing with tweed and being sexist and racist, they used to climb up some pretty gnarly full-on terrain with one straight axe, cutting steps, all the rest of it. So, if all that you can acquire for your budget, all you can find locally, whatever, is a couple of straight axes for, 10, 20, 30 pounds each second hand, you can still go out and climb grade 1, 2 and 3 with these axes. You don't need massively technical, aggressive axes like this to climb grade 1, 2 and 3. These only really come into their own when you're moving up into grade 5 and beyond. Hopefully one day. So, straight handled axes that you can pick up very cheap, loads of them second hand floating about all over the place. Bag a couple of them, years of fun in Scotland, in Wales, in the Lake District. Have a whale of a time. However, if you're keen to move through the grades up to grade 4 and 5 and beyond, it's probably worth just taking a punt on something a little more aggressive, something with a wee bit of a curve to the handle, bit more of a downturned pick, usually T-rated so you can use it as a belay device if you're going to bury it and all the rest of it, but maybe go into all that later. So if you're climbing in Scotland or the UK, you're going to want a big burly axe that can handle it. So T-rated pick, T-rated shaft, most of them are. You don't have to worry about that too much. Anyway, a step up from the straight handled walking axe is the sort of hybrid. You can still use it as a walking axe, you can still use it for self-arrest, but it's got a wee bit of a curve to the handle, wee bit more of a downturned aggressive pick on it. It may come with a pommel, no pommel, no pommel. Your hand can slip off the end of that pretty quick, no sniggering. I did have one occasion where I had quite iced up gloves, iced up handle, sort of grabbed it, pull it in, took a bit of a slip, hand popped off the end, nearly crapped my pants. So if you want to go and buy an axe with the handle because it makes you feel bomb-proof and solid, do it, because the better you feel, the better you'll climb, the safer you'll be. So, if you're going to buy axes new, there are plenty of axes in the first category, you know, the straight walking type axes. Plenty of them going about new for as low as 35, 40 pounds from Gravel, DMM, all the rest of it. You can pick up the sort of entry level axes that they make, and they're more than capable of taking you all the way up through grade 1, 2, 3 and into 4. You can pick them up second hand, even cheaper. My first ice axe was a Gravel Munro, which I picked up for £30 second hand on Gumtree. I very quickly realised I was keen to move up into grade 2 and 3 terrain, so I was quite keen to get something a little bit more aggressive, a bit more of a curve to it, maybe a pommel on the handle. I kind of wish I'd just gone straight in, bought something a wee bit more aggressive. To be honest, I wish I'd just gone straight in, got some fully technical, aggressive axes that'll take you all the way up to grade 10, 11, 12, if you can ever climb that hard. Because if you look after an axe, if you replace the pick when it's worn down, give it a wee sharpen before use, you can make an axe last most of your life. So, there are plenty of these slightly more aggressive hybrid axes that are still quite good for walking and self-arrest. Decathlon is a good place to buy this type of axe. Price matching at Go Outdoors, that's another way of getting money knocked off these axes. If you shop around and find it somewhere cheaper and then price match it at Go Outdoors, you will get A, match the price, B, knock off 10%. 10% is quite a lot when you're talking about a £100 axe, knock down to 80, knock another £8 off. Cheapy as chips. My personal recommendation for a hybrid axe, which is just a wee bit more technical than a walking axe, would be the Black Diamond Venom. Again, I bought one of these second hand, used it for the first winter, wanted to upgrade to something more aggressive, sold it on. I've done a lot of buying, selling, buying. If you can afford it, go straight in for the best quality, top end you can get. If you can't afford it, don't worry about any of that, just buy what you can afford because it will do you in grade 1 to 3. You don't have to worry about expensive technical gear for this type of grade. You can worry about it later when you're pushing on up through the grades and you can save up your money and
Get a fancy job that pays well.
So, that's the Black Diamond Venom, would be my personal favourite. A great brand that make very affordable axes that are a lot cheaper than the leading brand competitors, made in the EU, very reliable, don't buy from China, is Singing Rock. Great brand. They do the Bandit, which is a very technical axe. It'll last you your whole life, but £100 an axe. They also have more entry-level axes at 40, 50, 60, 70 pounds that are still quite technical, T-rated, a lot cheaper than a lot of the competitors. DMM are a great brand to go for if you're buying axes for UK climbing because they're kind of built and manufactured in the UK. They're built to be tough. They're a wee bit heavier than some of the competitors. They're very burly. They can take a damn good knocking. They'll last you for years. You can rattle them off rocks, jam them in cracks, torque them, twist them, stand on them. Very good axes for UK winter climbing. Up to the more technical side of things. I basically bought this, like I said, because it was on sale. If I'd had the money,
If I had the money, if I ever have the money,
I would personally buy the Petzl-Nomics. They have for many a year been the standard bearer for technical ice axes at the upper end of things. People like Uli Steck climbed with them. Lots of pros use them. They're my personal favourites. I sometimes just go in the shop to wave them around. Quite sad. There's something very alluring about ice axes. They sort of draw you in like sirens, force you to get your credit card out, overdraft. Kind of wish I'd used my student overdraft to some benefit, like buying outdoor gear and pissing it all up a wall, but hey ho, you live and learn. Things like the Petzl-Nomic, the Grivel Tech Machine, the DMM Apex, the Black Diamond, Viper and Fuel. These are all very technical, curved, aggressive axes with pommels, handles, lightweight, super strong, great axes. If you can afford to buy these, I would recommend buying them, because if you ever want to push through grade 3 and 4 into 5, you're going to need something like this, so you're going to be upgrading anyway. The good thing is, axes kind of hold their value for quite a while, as long as they're not too smashed up. Or sell on your old kit and use that to invest in new kit. So it's a good way of moving up the grades once you're a couple of years in and you're keen to move up. So, if you want to buy second hand, you've got a smallish budget to work with, doesn't have to be that expensive, go for Outdoor Gear Exchange on Facebook, Gumtree, eBay, what have you. There's loads of sites out there where you can pick up second hand gear relatively inexpensively. It'll last you for years, do you up through many a grade. Highly recommend that approach. If you've got the money, however, I would personally recommend going for something a little more technical that's going to be future-proofed against your own ambitions and progress as you move on up through the grades and start poking away at the grades 4 and eventually grade 5. Because grade 5 is where things get a little bit technical. So you're going to want some slightly more technical axes that you can cling to for dear life and poo yourself. I think that's it for axes. So why don't we have a wee consideration of some of the other essential gear you're going to need for winter climbing. Helmet! You can pick up a helmet, 10, 15 pounds, Decathlon, Simmond, perfectly decent brand. Nothing super lightweight or anything, but it'll protect your noggin if a big chunk of ice falls off. I've already had numerous pieces of ice fall off and hit me on the helmet, so you definitely need a helmet when you're winter climbing. Goggles! You'll definitely need a pair of goggles. It's gnarly in Scotland. Spindrift City, baby. Sometimes you just can't even see. The only thing preventing you from going blind and mad and dying is your wee pair of goggles. Again, you can pick them up for a tenner. Don't have to be anything fancy. Entry level stuff, but it'll last you for years. I'd recommend keeping it in a sock or a wee bag in your rucksack because they get very scratched up. Head torches. You will definitely need a head torch because you will be topping out in the dark, in the dark, in the dark, back to the car, in the dark. A lot of stuff in the dark in the winter. Days are short, night falls quickly.
the soul descends into darkness very easily.
Get a head torch, carry spare batteries, essential. Again, 10, 12, 15 pounds. You can pick one up and go outdoors. Decathlon, Lidl quite often sell them, Aldi when they're doing their camping stuff. Just get one with a decent wee rubber button on it. Doesn't freeze up in the winter. So, next video we'll talk about crampons and probably talk about boots as well, because there are many different types of boots. B1, B2, B3, B. So, boots are very important. Your crampons and your axes may be your most technically important, but your boots are probably going to be the most important piece of stuff you own, because if your feet are wet and cold and numb, you're going to be miserable, hate it, horrible, never do it again. Good boots, essential. Now let's go climb.